want to try, look, even for me personally, my character, they would try to attack my character. They'll say he a rat or he just a snake.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is ask him who I told on.
Paperwork.
I ain't never told on no in my life.
Yeah.
In the Prem situation, look at this case. It'll tell you who told on him.
Right.
My name ain't in that case.
Innocent or guilty, criminal or citizen, that could get them anytime.
All right. If you know anything about 50 Cent, you are aware that it is risky to cross him. And when 50 began dragging him through the mud over those protracted snitching accusations, T.I. learned that the hard way. For years, T.I. has been stuck with that label, and he has only received contempt from his peers, the public, and even some disloyal supporters as a result. One of the loudest voices agitating the situation right away was 50. T.I. made an effort to appear unconcerned and dismiss the 50 shots, but the scenario just became messier over time. Before long, T.I. was returning the clap. He should have known better than to prod the bear, but he didn't. He went to Versus and challenged them to a 20-track fight, even going so far as to challenge him on his birthday for the most disrespect. And of course, this only made 50 even more petty. He brought up an old Crime Stoppers commercial from 2008, in which he urged people to report crimes, and the internet went berserk. This is when things get wild. In fact, 50 and Tip were once close. Together, they had tracks. Both of them were winning big in the game, and they publicly displayed their love. Nevertheless, those accusations of snitching follow T.I. about like a shadow no matter how much success he achieves. And 50, among many others, simply won't let it go away.
Say, look, if it say, sir, did you see such and such and such, do such and such and such? Oh, wait a minute, only time, the only time.
Only one place in the federal guidelines where you can have 10 machine and get 1 year of community service and 1 year incarcerated.
I said, how you feel when them New York this shit like 50 and all them they be trying to do all of those?
I'ma tell you something. When you're
According to recent speculations, T.I. was scheduled to play Davis Milan in Power but was passed up due to his feud with 50. T.I. attempted to silence everyone by claiming that it was untrue and that he and 50 were cool and respectful of one another. Ironically, though, not a single word of it has been verified by 50. However, how did T.I. get caught up with this snitching representative who keeps 50 people at bay? How did things get so out of control between 50 and Tip? What is actually happening between them today? Let's dissect everything. You see, T.I. and 50 have a long history. Their feud is nothing new. 50's primary problems with Tip, other than constantly making fun of him on social media, come down to a few things. First, T.I.'s persistent pleading for a battle at Versus. He simply refused to let it go. Then there's the more significant issue. T.I. is still haunted by that old Crime Stoppers ad when he talked slickly about East Coast rappers like 50. After being found guilty of serious crimes and facing the prospect of a 20-year jail sentence, Tip found himself in hot water back in 2007. What did he do then? In an attempt to improve his reputation following the arrest, he appeared in a public service announcement encouraging people to resist crime. As you are already aware, that advertisement offended many of T.I.'s peers, and they quickly labeled him a snitch. Naturally, 50 Cent was among the first to board the train.
They try to use that I needed to order protection, but why it feels like I'm the out here then? If I needed protection, you needed protection. And
He fired straight shots at the Tip of Gunnett's track, knocking you down with 10 machine guns in under a year. Hey, don't talk to me. Instead, talk to them. I have the best attorneys available. They claimed that I would have received 10 or even 9. Everyone was watching T.I. in that verse, wondering how he managed to avoid being buried by the charges. I replied, "How do you explain how homie breezes?" They were saying, "Keep your mouth shut, or you eat the cheese." At 50, that bar called out T.I.'s whole circumstances surrounding Tip's disappearance at the 2007 Bet Hip Hop Awards. He was arrested on federal charges just hours before he was scheduled to perform. It turns out that after Tip paid $12,000 in cash for 3 machine guns and 2 silencers, His own bodyguard, who was actually acting as an informant, turned them over to T.I. This is when things get wild. T.I. already has a criminal record. Therefore, it was against the law for him to even handle weapons in that way. However, his punishment was surprisingly modest even after he entered a guilty plea.
Y'all, some people call me Tip, but this is about another kind of tip that can help our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, and our fathers help get the perpetrators who commit crimes against them off the streets. All you gotta do is call Crime Stoppers Atlanta. Tips can be anonymous, and there's even a reward. The number to Crime Stoppers Atlanta is 404-577-8477. That's 404-577-TIPS. Channel 2, Community.
Instead of facing years behind bars, Tip got a single year of house arrest, 1,500 hours of community service, and an unclear prison sentence that barely stuck. 50, meantime, persisted in pointing out that even with the best legal staff in the game, those charges typically entail 9 to 10 years in prison. However, T.I. managed to skate away. Additionally, 50 was overtly implying that there were significant conditions tied to the agreement, as if that lighter punishment required some talking on the part of T.I.
When, like, the 50 cents are coming at you.
Well, I mean, honestly, man, like...
Shortly after your rough drop. In an interview, 50 was asked about the incident. He played it cool by claiming that the public should determine whether or not he was referring to Tip. However, it was evident from reading between the lines that 50 didn't even need to mention his name. The snitch label had already been applied on T.I. Now, T.I. attempted to give 50 the benefit of the doubt when he was questioned about it at the time, around the time Gunnet released the song. Let's be honest though, the feds had their heavy gaze on Tip, so he couldn't clap back too forcefully anyhow. However, you're already aware that this drama will eventually resurface. And sure enough, in the midst of the commotion surrounding Tekashi's snitch incident in 2020, the old Crime Stoppers footage reappeared online.
To be perfectly honest with you, man, I gotta deal with each situation as how I hear it come out of the person's mouth. You can misinterpret songs, lyrics, you know what I'm saying? When you're being interviewed and someone asks you, how do you feel about this? Yeah. I gotta take that, I gotta take your verbal rather than listen to your lyrics and jump to a conclusion. And when I heard him speaking on it, he said he wasn't talking about me, you know what I'm saying?
While Tekashi 669 was testifying against 2 suspected members of 9 Trey, as part of his racketeering prosecution, rumors of snitching were already circulating. Therefore, 50 Cent couldn't help but make fun of T. After seeing his old Crime Stoppers commercial, "This is the first song I'm going to play," he stated on Twitter, "You're quite tough." That amounted to 50 clowning recommendations for the challenge at the zoo while sharing an audio snippet of the diss music and the notorious Crime Stoppers video. Naturally, it didn't take long for T.I. to fall for it. With a barrage of denials, he rushed into the comment section to clap back at 50's post. Tip quickly asserted that he never snitched or assisted the police in bringing anyone down. He didn't stop there though. He continued to push back as if his entire reputation depended on it. T.I. even changed the plot, implying that 50 might be projecting and making disparaging remarks about whether or not he had any secrets of his own from a snitching past. The video clip is cute in poor taste, but cute. Tip clapped back, "But I like facts. I've never provided law police with any information to get someone time for a crime. Can you say the same, 50 Cent?" Tip didn't stop there either. By publishing 50's disc on his own Instagram and adding a lengthy, inflammatory caption, he went even further. He called for the showdown at Verzu once more, adding, "I'll take this as an acceptance of his catalog challenge. We managed to get him. He took the bait. Arranged this so that I may finally put an end to this watermelon head invisible neck ninja." Tip reaffirmed his vow that he never snitched on anyone, even in the midst of all that heat.
Never nothing negative. So, and like he said this in conversation. At the same time, he said, man, he's never had a problem with saying people's names when he's speaking on them. And like that's not like 50. If he going at somebody, he usually say their name and make it known. It's usually not ever whether or not. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that it's just unnecessary to jump to a conclusion.
T.I. continued to swing and right. As far as this clip goes, It's cute, old, outdated, and in poor taste, much like your catalog, 50 Cent. However, I prefer facts, and the fact remains, I have never given any information to any form of law enforcement at any time in life to get anybody any time for any crime. I was instructed by Supreme to ask 50 Cent if he could say the same thing. He wasn't finished yet. That's all I have to say about that, Tip reiterated. Let's arrange this date. Choose some songs from your one great album, and put your small, inflated, out-of-date, and steroid-inflated repertoire to rest. Farewell to the 50 Cent catalog. You have been winning Ninja Wars and clowning for years. However, not the king. You made a mistake. Bring me. Tip was unable to control himself. Thus, it was obvious that 50 had touched a nerve. To clear his name of those snitching rumors, he did everything in his power. Tip jumped on Instagram Live with comedian Kelly K. Dub Walker immediately after blasting 50 in that Instagram post. Eager to discuss even more, T.I. brought up those charges of him being a snitch once more throughout that exchange. However, as you're already aware, it didn't end there.
Life, you see a snitch, slap him when you see him, knock his nose off. So the next time I'm out, instead of asking for a picture like a little hoe ass, come on, knock my nose out if you think I'm a snitch. Come on, quit smiling in my face trying to get in my section. Don't play with me, think you're talking to. Play with your name. King, I never gave no information to get anybody in no, but now time with no police. If I am working with a police.
Tip continued his conversation by bringing up the notorious Crime Stoppers commercial once more. When asked how he felt about people calling him a rat due to that advertisement during an interview on the Big Facts podcast, Tip reiterated what he had already said. Additionally, Tip had a slick retort when they questioned him about how New York rappers like 50 Cent were continuously disparaging that same advertisement. About a week later, 50 finally clapped back, which is when things really took off. He immediately took to Instagram, where he posted a now-deleted Tip by sharing the interview video again while adding his own commentary. This occurred 1 week ago. I was informed by this ninja about a comedy show he was working backstage on. This type of thing bothers me. Avoiding me in the future would be a bad decision. Respectfully, don't come near me. Following King Von's untimely death, things became even more heated because 50 was among the first to criticize Tip for remarks he made that immediately offended people.
Something, man, because I seen the post today where they were saying that you were supposed to be in, I guess one of the Power, what's the name? I guess two of the actors on the show said that you were actually supposed to be on the show, and then they replaced you with Method Man, and they weren't expecting it or something.
No, that's not true. 50 and I, we were executive producers on a different show outside of the Power universe. But nah, man, me and 50 cool. We just.
Tip made the decision to comment on the violence in Atlanta a few days after Vaughn and 2 other people were slain there on November 6, 2020. Atlanta is a beautiful, forward-thinking city full of Black excellence, he wrote. Together, we triumph and support one another. Don't come here to murder one another. That has already occurred. Handle your beef in your city, he wrote as the caption for the photo. King, thank you in advance. However, not everyone was comfortable with that message. 50 then made the decision to check the suggestion once again. An angry Instagram story uploaded by Van's sister Kayla was reshared by 50. And these are truths, she said, but he needs to put the same amount of effort into his daughter's business as he does into his own. My brother 50 Cent will never get off his ass. 50 then made sure that everyone on the internet saw Tip being pressed by amplifying her words. Therefore, 50 intervened and checked Tip directly after learning about Kayla's Instagram story. You need to calm down, he replied. For saying anything, you're bothering me. They suffered casualties. This is true. I'm not sure what you were thinking, but give it more thought. They're hurting now. They adore the boy. He was completely out. You probably aren't even aware that they're preparing to attack you because of what you just said. Again, which hood are you from? Now hurry up. Quiet moment. T.I. was quiet for a minute after that, but he couldn't remain mute indefinitely, you know. Soon after, new rumors surfaced claiming that Tip was on the verge of being cast in 50's Power universe but lost it because he kept making fun of 50. Naturally, Tip had to respond and set the record straight, denying that his feud with 50 was the reason he was fired. When Johnny Paulo, who plays Braden Weston on Power, revealed to TMZ that T.I. was originally set up to play Davis McLean, the suave lawyer who currently plays that role, the entire issue blew up. And as stated by Tariq's actor, Michael Rainey, JRB, one day, Method Men appeared out of nowhere as they pulled up to the scene. Not even a heads up or a warning. Naturally, rumors began to circulate that Meth might have been able to take over the job because of a backstage feud between 50 and Tip. However, after learning of that rumor, Tip jumped to correct the record on the Tony the Closer podcast. He vowed that the claims that he was cast as Davis Milan were untrue and asserted that he and 50 genuinely respected one another. The problem is that 50 remained completely mute when T.I. was out here congratulating 50. He made no affirmations or denials. You realize that silence isn't peace if you know 50. Even when he's keeping quiet, he never forgets a beef. It's never if, it's only when with 50. So don't be surprised if this tension between him and Tip blows up again. When fans choose a side, they stick with it through thick and thin. A fan wrote, "You can be a non-cooperating snitch where you direct police to a situation they can look at closer, and they still land a conviction without the original witness testimony. Just saying." For what was essentially a small army's worth of firearms, I have never in my life witnessed a one-year term, a Crime Stoppers Tip commercial, community service, time served, or a conviction. Let me get some of those politicians you have under control, even though I like T.I. Otherwise, you are a snitch. Tip had more than 30 years, while ninjas received more than 10 years for a single pistol. Another fan responded with a clap of their own, claiming that 50 had no space to speak, abandoning the traditional mouse, and referring to the rat as a rodent. It's on you now though. How do you feel about the entire conflict between 50 and Tip? Did 50 have the right idea to criticize Tip? Or is this just hypocrisy? Please share your opinions in the comments section. Remember to use the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next incredible